Hello, everybody. How are you today? This is a podcast where we tell the stories that have shaped us into who we are. So, I am your host, Daniel, and we have today a very special guest. Joining us today is Alyce. She is an Australian friend. She is a singer, songwriter, and an artist. Hello, Alyce. How are you today?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I am very good. Alyce, let's start with this question. You're an Australian. When we were planning to come here, some English speaker friends told us, be careful because Australian English is another language. Is that right?
Yes, very much.
Too many slangs, is right?
We use a lot of slang here,
Yeah.
slang words, so it can be a little bit tricky sometimes, yes. Yeah.
Could you teach us one slang?
Or how's it going?
How's it going? Is it going,
How's
mate?
it going? It's just how is it going? So it means how are you? So rather than saying g'day mate, which a lot of us don't, but if you're in Queensland, maybe I think they say it, but
Uh-huh.
we're from Perth. So we usually just say, hey, how's it going? Or
It's
how are you?
going.
Yeah.
Yeah. So funny. Yeah. And hard for us to understand sometimes.
Yeah.
So we have a good friendship with Alyce, and I think some people could be curious now that you have met many Colombian friends, Colombian people. What do you think about us in general?
Very warm and loving people. And I love that you guys immediately pull everyone in like they are family and treat them like they're family. I love that. Yeah.
Thank you for that. I would like to start with this. Tell us about yourself. What do you do?
I am a high school art teacher. So I teach 12 to 18-year-olds art, and I teach them. I have Christian classes as well. I do that a little bit on the side, but I'm also a musician, singer, songwriter as well. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. And what were your dreams when you were in school?
Well, when I was in school, so my dream, firstly, was to be a mum, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm so blessed that I got to do that. I have 3 beautiful children. Um, and then I wanted to work with youth. So in the church, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a youth pastor when I was in
Mm-hmm.
school. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I
And
always wanted to sing, sing and write my own music. So yeah, I
I
get to
have
do that as well.
yeah, absolutely. And can you tell us about your journey to achieve your dreams? How did it start, and what were some key moments along the way?
Yeah, sure. There's been, I think, a lot of key moments in my life that have um, gotten me to where I am now and fulfilling pretty much all of those dreams as well. But I think it really started when I left school because my heart was to work with youth and to encourage youth. I I studied youth work, got my diploma in youth work. So um, in that, I learned how to sit down with youth, talk with them about what they're going through, be a safe person that they could express all of their difficulties with, and then lead them or point them to services that can help them through through those difficulties. So I was really blessed in that at the time I was working in my church with youth alongside as well. So my goal was always to be a youth pastor, which is a Christian leader within a church as well, working with youth. So it was my stepping stone for doing that. But also, I still wanted to work with kids outside of the church too. So it was working within both those areas.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And can you share a specific moment that really marked your life in that journey to to achieve
Yeah.
your dreams?
Yeah. So towards the end of that degree, there was like a big turning point for me one of my friends at church, he took his own life, and it was really, really difficult for all of us. And
How old was he?
he was only 19. No,
Mm,
I was 19 too, so we're the same age. So,
mm,
and often you don't, within like your church circle, it's not quite common for that sort of thing to happen. So we were all really shocked, and we didn't really know how to cope, how to deal with it, what was happening. And, you know, when you're around people and they're within your circle, you have thoughts all the time. You're like, what could I have done better? How could I not see it? Did I miss something? And you question yourself a lot. So because of that, I couldn't continue in the studies that I was doing because I was trying to figure out what was happening, what was going in my mind. And I thought, if I can't help myself, how can I help youth?
mm,
Because what I was experiencing was what these kids were going through. I even had one of my friends at the same time in my youth work studies who's trying to help youth. She was suicidal as well, and she was coming to me too. And then I had my friend, and I didn't know what to do, so I withdrew from all of that for about a year and a half. I just took time out. I went and worked and tried to process and deal with what had happened, and it was really, really significant point in my life.
and how did you cope with the loss of your friends?
Mm. Well, I found that because when I was in high school, I went to a public high school. So
Mm,
all of my friends um, at school were not Christian.
mm,
And that was a big thing for me. So I didn't fit in the same way. I still was really good friends, and people loved me and we got along, but I didn't get invited to parties because I wasn't going to drink, you know.
mm-hmm,
And I think people at the same time feel a little bit comfortable if you're not going to do the same thing as what they're doing. So, and my parents didn't have a lot of money either, so I couldn't afford to do the things that they were going to do as well. So my whole community that I found encouragement from was my church friends and
mm-hmm.
my youth group. So that is all the people my age at church, and we would hang out together every weekend. We were each other's support. They got me through a lot of things, and I felt like I didn't. You know, you always look for approval from your friends at school as to who you are, because you're trying to, I think, especially at that age, we're all trying to figure out who we are. And
Yep.
if we don't fit in somewhere, we feel like we don't matter and we're not important. So
Mm,
it was really good that I had my friends at church to tell me that I was worth something to them, because I felt like I didn't matter as much at school. Or it's not that I didn't matter to my friends, but I didn't have the same level of acceptance there.
mm-hmm.
Um, so when this happened in the church, we were all we just left school. So you're out into the big wide world, and there's new things. And you are in Australia, when you're 18, you're classified as an adult. So you can go out to clubs, you can go out drinking, you can go places that you can't when you're younger. And you're introduced to new social circles too, and different ways of thinking at uni. So I found this space in time, my friends were dealing with the group at church, were dealing with this grief and loss of their friend, but also faced with those whole other social changes. So
Yeah.
my network and the people that I felt safe with kind of, they went and did their own thing. And some of my relationships with some people broke down a bit, and I didn't have the same amount of support. So what I had found encouragement and support and a sense of self-worth and value in was gone. I was then all alone trying to figure things out. And I had like all my friends in my studies, they were only a couple were Christian, but not they had different social circles too. So I didn't have any of that support. So I was trying to figure out this new life of what is this feeling? Where do I find my self-worth and value in? And so I would just sit at home and play solitaire on my computer, and I felt so down. I felt like I was dealing with so much grief, and there's a lot of trauma in hearing about someone taking their own life. Like it's so devastating and so difficult to even think about them not being there or how they could do that or what could I have done. So I just went into this point of I had no sense of self-worth. I began overthinking because my friends weren't around and they were dealing with their hurts and their grief. I took that for myself to think that I didn't matter to them. I was thinking, and the crazy thing is you don't know what others are thinking in their heads. But sometimes we make it up and we think, oh, maybe, if they give a particular look, like they could just be having a bad day and they didn't mean to look at you that way, but you would take it, oh my gosh, I'm annoying them. I'm annoying to my friends. They don't want to be around me. I'm not important to them anymore. But really, they're just dealing with their grief, and so am I. So I got to the point where I literally couldn't feel any happiness or joy at all. Like someone would make a joke and I would laugh. I'm like, I know it's funny, but I'm so numb on the inside. I feel nothing at all. Nothing. Yeah. So I wouldn't even, I felt uncomfortable going out to the shops by myself. I couldn't do that at all. I would spend most of my time, I would go to work and then come home and, go on my computer in my bedroom. I didn't even go hang out with my family at all. I would just hide away. Yeah.
So you didn't have any social support or community support at that time?
Yeah. And I don't think my family actually realized what I was going through until I got through it and then spoke about it. Yeah.
And how did you get out of depression at the time?
Yeah. I think the key thing for me was I want to help people. And my motivation as well, like in life, and I feel like my purpose is to give encouragement to others. And I knew that if I stayed where I was, I couldn't help anyone. So I had that motivation of I can't stay here. I don't want to stay here. My life is pretty much pointless and useless if I do nothing and sit here. So I prayed about it. I was like, God, what do I do? What is the key things that are keeping me in this state of depression? And I knew that it was not going anywhere and sitting there. I knew that I was overthinking things all the time about what others were thinking. And I knew that there was, I felt stressed out when I would go to my room as well. It was messy. It was really messy. And so one of the things I did was I cleaned up my room and I made sure it kept it clean every day. So that became something that I could control, and that was actually good. And letting fresh air in and having a place of peace and rest organized around you in a visible way actually helps internally as well. So I did
the
that.
Environment, to have a clear environment.
Yes, a clean environment does help. And if you have a routine like that, it gives you a little achievement every day as well. I've accomplished this. So it gives you like a sense of success as well and a motivation. So it gives you that little bit encouragement. So I would make sure that I had that every day. And then I would take captive my thoughts. So every time something negative came along and an untruth, I would speak the truth about it. So one of the things that I did do was I sent an email to, because we used email. It wasn't like texting people. Like, this is 20 years ago now. I sent an email out to a few friends, and I just said to them, look, this is how I'm feeling, and I feel like I'm annoying you guys, and I'm not, I just need to hear what is actually true, because I know in my head it's not probably true, but I need to hear it. And I got some really beautiful letters from some of my friends back just telling me how much they loved me, and they were just really
So
sad that I felt that way.
you told them what you were thinking about them,
Yeah, that
and they answered you.
I was worried that people didn't like me, and like I
Okay.
was annoying to them. And they were like, no, Alyce, it's not true. We love you. And yeah, some really beautiful letters. And I there's no shame in that. It's really important, if you're feeling something, to ask people if that's actually true or not,
Mm-hmm.
and address it. So then I was like, okay, I've got something to stand on here. The truth is that my friends do love me. So
Mm-hmm.
every time I get a negative thought that makes me feel like I'm annoying them and they don't want to hang out with me, I know that's not true. They
Mm-hmm.
do, and they want to hang out with me. But, when you leave school, you are so busy with life as well.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
busy. So it was not that nobody wanted to hang with me. It was that everyone's studying and trying to figure things out, or
Yeah.
working, and they're tired, so it's a new season of life that we have to get used to. So then it was, I would go, okay, here, I need to work on here. What is a lie and what is truth?
Mm-hmm.
And for me as well, my faith and my loving for God is very foundational to that too. So in his word, God says that we are fearfully and wonderfully made, and we're made in the image of our Creator. So how I was designed and created and made, there's no mistake in that.
Mm-hmm.
And God's very intentional, and he loves us all. So every time I would hear that I'm not worthy and I'm not something, I would go, no, God says, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made in the image of my Creator. And I would counter the lie that I was hearing with the truth that God gave me and
Mm-hmm.
what my friends gave me. I also got out of my room,
Mm-hmm.
went and sat with my parents in the evening and watched TV with them. And it sounds like something so like small, but
But
when
it
you spend
helped.
so much time like this and alone, it's a really big step. And I felt so uncomfortable, and I was like, no, I'm going to do this. And I would just sit there. Okay, good night. Go back to bed, you know? And then I would, okay, I'm going to drive down to the shops and buy this and then come back, or just go and walk around the shops, then get for like 10 minutes, get back in my car and go. Getting out of the house, it's a small accomplishment. I'm around people even though I feel uncomfortable, and it's breaking that hiding away as well. So that's key things. I would also set time aside every day to read my Bible, write a journal, which I still keep to this day. I still write to God pretty much. But I've got a lot of them now. It goes through everything in my life. But they're my prayers in my heart. And I talk to him about what I'm going through.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that. And then I play my guitar and I write songs.
I was gonna ask you about that. Like, you are an artist and a singer. Do you think this artistic sensitivity has helped you to deal with depression or with sadness at that
Yes,
time?
absolutely. Because for me, playing my guitar and writing a song, every time I write a song, I sing about something that I'm going through. And for me, it's a almost like a prayer to God for me. So it becomes my way of processing what I'm going through. And I always when I write a song, I always have the situation and then the answer at the end, because I find that's what happens to me in this process. So it helps me process what I'm going through and gives me an answer.
And could you give a piece of advice for people who are passing through depression at this time?
Yeah. Don't stay where you are. Fight. Yeah. Because if you just stay and sit, and if you focus on the inward all the time,
Mm-hmm.
you're not, it's just going to keep getting worse and worse and worse. And you will find yourself at a point where you feel like there's no way out. So fight. And one of the other key things, like I was just thinking about it, is we spend so much time thinking about ourselves and what we're feeling. But when we think about ourselves all the time, it ends up in this endless loop that keeps going round and round and round. But when we look out and look at others,
Mm-hmm.
and we take our minds off ourselves, there is a way out in that. There's like scripture says, it's the Bible, it's more blessed to give than it is to receive. And you
Mm-hmm.
really, that was key and paramount moment for me in getting past my depression.
Mm-hmm.
If this world will tell us to keep looking, it's all about me. I need to do what makes me happy. The only way to be successful and be fulfilled in my life is doing things for me. And it's become a very selfish way of thinking. But the more you think about yourself, the sadder you'll become.
Mm-hmm.
But if you spend your time thinking about others and what you can do, it really does something for your heart. And it's such an encouragement to yourself and
Mm-hmm.
to others as well. The less time you spend thinking about yourself and what's going on up here, you'll come out of it.
It's right. Well, I must say that when we met Alyce and noticed her musical talent, we invited her to join a project to raise money for charity in Colombia, and she accepted straight away. And we have performed together in 3 charity concerts, so I can confidently say that we have witnessed your passion for serving others. And even during the challenging times that we know you have passed through. And I wanted to give you thanks for that. Thanks for sharing your story. I think is very relevant, your story, because there are many people who don't tell about depression because maybe they think this is something that you cannot talk about.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think, it's really difficult to talk about it. You can kind of, when you're struggling yourself, it's really hard to speak it out loud, and it's really hard to get help. And again, the speaking about it is how you're going to get through it as well. So everyone feels like they have to put on we call a facade, or a face, a mask, because we're more worried about what others think about us. But I think if we all just really spoke about how we were feeling, we'd realize that so many more people are struggling too, and we could help each other. So don't be afraid to speak about it, or share with others about how you've gotten through it, or say, I need help, I can't do this. There's no shame in it at all.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And thank you again, Alyce, again for sharing your story and yeah. So we have finished now, but I wanted to give you thanks for this time.
Thanks for having me.
Oh,
No
yes.
worries.
Bye bye.
Bye.